The last line of defense. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Earth Defense Fleet's flagship, Resolution, watching the distant stars with growing unease. The latest reports from the outer colonies painted a troubling picture, one that the rest of the Galactic Council seemed determined to ignore. "Commander," Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled through the comm system. "Priority transmission from Centauri Prime. It's bad." Chen closed her eyes briefly, steeling herself. "Put it through to my private terminal." The holographic display materialized before her, showing the smoking ruins of what had once been the proudest diplomatic installation in the Centaurian sphere. The Centaurian Embassy, home to over 3,000 diplomatic staff from across the galaxy, had been reduced to twisted metal and crystalline shards. But that wasn't the worst of it. "Replay the security footage," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the horror unfolding before her. The footage showed the final moments before the attack. A gathering of the galaxy's most influential leaders, including High Chancellor Xaltharian of the Galactic Council. Then chaos erupted as the Void Collective's ships descended from orbit, their quantum disruptors tearing through the embassy's supposedly impenetrable shields like they were made of paper. Analysis confirms that High Chancellor Xaltharian was present during the attack, Lieutenant Rivera reported. Initial scans indicate they took him alive. The Void Collective is demanding the complete dissolution of the Galactic Council and surrender of all advanced technology in exchange for his safe return. Chen's jaw tightened. The High Chancellor wasn't just any political figure. He was the architect of the Peace of 1,000 Stars, the treaty that had finally brought stability to the galaxy after centuries of conflict. His loss would plunge the galaxy back into chaos. What's the Council's response? Rivera's hesitation spoke volumes. They're convening an emergency session to discuss options. But, Commander, the preliminary votes are clear. No species is willing to risk open war with the Void Collective. They're going to abandon him. Chen turned away from the window, her decision already made. "Get me Admiral Torres. Now." "Commander, you can't be serious," Rivera protested. "The Void Collective's territory is surrounded by quantum mines, automated defense platforms, and their entire battle fleet. Even if we could get through their defenses, they have technology centuries ahead of ours. It would be suicide." "Probably," Chen agreed, allowing herself a grim smile. "But we're human. Suicide missions are our specialty." Admiral Torres's hologram materialized in the command center 15 minutes later. His weathered face showed the strain of recent events, but his eyes remained sharp. "Commander Chen, I assume this is about the High Chancellor." "Yes, sir. Request permission to mount a rescue operation." Torres was silent for a long moment. "You understand the political implications. The Council has explicitly voted against intervention. If we act alone." "With respect, sir, that's exactly why we must act." Chen activated a tactical display, showing the known positions of the Void Collective's forces. "Humanity is the newest member of the Galactic Council. We're seen as primitive, reckless, emotional. But we're also the only species who still remembers what it means to fight for something bigger than survival. Make your case, Commander." Chen's fingers danced across the console, bringing up technical specifications. The Resolution was built with experimental quantum-resistant shielding. It's untested in combat, but theoretically, it should give us a fighting chance against their weapons. We also have something they don't expect: the neural interface pilots. Torres' eyebrows rose. The neural interface program was humanity's closest guarded secret, a system that allowed human pilots to link directly with their ships, achieving reaction times and tactical awareness that no AI or conventional pilot could match. It was dangerous, potentially lethal to the pilot, but devastatingly effective. Who would you take? A small team. Lieutenant Rivera for communications, Dr. Patel for technical support, and 3 NI pilots, Cooper, Zhang, and myself. Chen's voice remained steady. Small enough to slip through their defenses, strong enough to complete the mission. And the crew. They understand this is voluntary. Chen nodded. They're already prepared, sir. We're human. When we see someone in need, we help. It's what makes us foolish in the eyes of the Council. It's also what makes us strong. Admiral Torres stood silent for what felt like an eternity. Finally, he spoke. Officially, I cannot authorize this mission. The Resolution and its crew will be listed as going rogue, acting against direct orders. If you're caught, Earth will deny all knowledge of your actions. Understood, sir. Unofficially, Torres's hologram smiled. Give them hell, Commander. Show them what humanity's foolishness can accomplish. Torres out. As the hologram faded, Chen turned to Rivera, who had been quietly monitoring the exchange. Send the signal. All volunteer crew to briefing room 3 in 30 minutes, and get me everything we have on the Void Collective's defense systems. Already done, Commander. Rivera handed over a datapad. Dr. Patel has also completed her analysis of their quantum disruption technology. She thinks she's found a weakness. Chen began reviewing the data as she walked, her cybernetic implants processing the information faster than any natural human could. The Void Collective had emerged from the dark regions beyond known space a decade ago, bringing with them technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Their quantum disruption weapons could tear apart matter at the subatomic level, and their defense systems were nearly impenetrable. Nearly, but not quite. The briefing room was already full when Chen arrived, though she'd given the crew 30 minutes. Every face showed the same determination she felt. These weren't just soldiers. They were explorers, dreamers, the kind of people who had looked up at the stars and decided that humanity belonged among them. I won't lie to you, Chen began, meeting each person's eyes in turn. This mission is beyond dangerous. We're going up against technology we barely understand. To rescue an alien leader who probably thinks we're primitive savages and will be violating direct orders from the Galactic Council to do it. She paused, letting that sink in. If anyone wants to leave, now's the time. No questions asked, no marks on your record. Not a single person moved. Right then, Chen activated the tactical display, showing the path they would need to take through Void Collective territory. Dr. Patel, walk us through the science. The ship's chief scientist stepped forward, her dark eyes bright with excitement despite the gravity of the situation. The Void Collective's quantum disruption technology works by targeting the fundamental forces holding matter together. But it requires incredible precision that can be disrupted by introducing controlled chaos into the quantum field. She brought up a diagram of the Resolution's modified shields. We've reconfigured our shield generators to create a quantum uncertainty field. In theory, this should make their weapons less effective against us. The downside is, it's incredibly power-hungry and potentially unstable. How unstable? Asked Lieutenant Cooper, one of the NI pilots. Let's just say we'll want to avoid any direct hits. Paddle replied with a grimace. The good news is, I've also found a way to use the same principle offensively. If we can get close enough to their command center, we can use our own quantum field to disrupt their defenses. Chen nodded. That's where the NI pilots come in. We'll need split-second timing and perfect coordination to pull this off. Lieutenant Zhang, you'll take point on the approach. Cooper, you're our backup and emergency extraction. I'll handle the infiltration once we're inside. She brought up a timeline. We have a 48-hour window before the Void Collective's deadline expires. That means we launch in 2 hours. Get your affairs in order, say your goodbyes if you need to, and meet in the hangar bay at 400. As the crew filed out, Rivera lingered behind. Commander, there's something else you should know. I've been analyzing the patterns in the Void Collective's communications. There's something off about them. The encryption they're using, it's familiar somehow. Chen frowned. Familiar how? I can't put my finger on it yet, but I have a feeling we're missing something important. Something about who they really are. Keep digging, Chen ordered. If there's a mystery here, I want to know what it is before we're in too deep to turn back. As Rivera left, Chen remained in the briefing room, studying the tactical displays. The plan was risky, possibly insane by the standards of their alien allies. But there was something else driving her, something beyond duty or politics. Humanity had fought its way to the stars, overcome its own violent past, and earned its place in the galactic community. Now they had a chance to prove that their primitive emotions, their compassion, their willingness to fight for what was right, weren't weaknesses at all. They were about to show the galaxy exactly what human foolishness could achieve. And if they were going to die trying, well, that was a very human thing to do too. Against all odds, the Resolution's hangar bay hummed with controlled chaos as the crew made their final preparations. The massive ship, nearly a kilometer long, would remain on the edge of human space as their cover story. The real mission would take place aboard a much smaller vessel, the Shadow Dancer. Commander Chen ran her hand along the Shadow Dancer's sleek hull, feeling the subtle vibrations of its advanced stealth systems. The ship was humanity's latest achievement in military technology, though officially it didn't exist. Its quantum metamaterial coating could bend both light and sensors around its hull, making it nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. Final systems check complete, Dr. Patel called out, emerging from the ship's engine room. Her normally pristine lab coat was stained with coolant fluid. The quantum uncertainty field is stable, but will only have about 6 hours at maximum strength. After that, the containment systems will start to degrade. 6 hours to get in, find the High Chancellor, and get out, Chen mused. Nothing like a deadline to focus the mind. Lieutenant Zhang approached, already wearing his neural interface gear. The sleek black suit was studded with quantum processors and neural linkages. Cooper and I just finished the combat simulations. The neural lag is minimal, but there's something else you should see. Inside the Shadow Dancer's cockpit, Zhang brought up the sensor data from their simulations. The Void Collective's defense grid, it's not just advanced, it's adaptive. Watch this pattern. He pointed to a series of energy signatures. It's learning from each attack, each evasion. Almost like it knows what we're going to do before we do it. Rivera finished, joining them in the cockpit. Commander, I finished my analysis of their communication patterns. That familiarity I noticed. I know what it is now. She lowered her voice. They're using modified versions of our own encryption algorithms that were never shared outside Earth's military. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. You're saying we have a leak? No, Rivera shook her head. I'm saying it's worse than that. The modifications, the adaptive patterns, they're not just similar to our technology. They're evolved versions of it, as if someone took our tech and had decades to advance it further than we ever could. Time travelers, Cooper suggested, only half joking. Or something else entirely, Dr. Patel interjected. She'd been quietly listening from the doorway. The quantum physics involved in their weapons, we always assumed it was beyond our understanding. But what if it's not? What if it's exactly our understanding? Just more. Chen was about to respond when the ship's AI interrupted. Commander, priority alert. The Void Collective has begun moving their fleet. They're not waiting for their deadline. Show me. The tactical display lit up with dozens of enemy signatures, their formation shifting like a school of predatory fish. But they weren't moving toward Earth or any other Council world. They were converging on a single point in space. That's the Nexus, Rivera breathed. The central hub of all galactic communications and travel. If they take control of that, they can shut down every quantum gate in the galaxy. Chen finished. Isolate every world, cripple trade and communication. We'd be thrown back centuries. The pieces were falling into place now. This wasn't just about the High Chancellor. He was bait in a much larger trap. And yet, something still didn't add up. If the Void Collective had technology evolved from Earth's own designs, if they could predict and counter their every move, why show their hand now? Time to find out, Chen decided. Full crew, battle stations. We launch in 5 minutes. As the team strapped in, Chen activated her own neural interface. The familiar sensation of merging with the ship's systems washed over her. Every sensor became an extension of her nervous system, every weapon a part of her body. Through the neural link, she could feel Zhang and Cooper doing the same, their consciousness expanding to encompass different aspects of the ship's operations. "Remember," she said as the hangar bay doors began to open, "we're not just fighting for the High Chancellor anymore. Whatever the Void Collective really is, whatever their true plan might be, we're probably the only ones who can stop them." She allowed herself a small smile. Good thing we humans have a habit of beating impossible odds. The shadow dancer lifted off smoothly, its stealth systems already engaged. As they accelerated away from the resolution, Chen felt the quantum uncertainty field stabilize around them. 6 hours to save not just the High Chancellor, but possibly the entire galaxy. Just another day in humanity's foolish quest to do what's right. The first challenge came sooner than expected. As they approached the border of Void Collective space, their sensors detected something unusual. A massive quantum disturbance, unlike anything they'd seen before. "Analysis," Chen ordered. Dr. Patel's fingers flew over her console. It's like they've created a quantum storm. The very fabric of space-time is being distorted. Our uncertainty field might protect us from their weapons, but this," she shook her head, "this is different. Can we go around it?" "Negative," Zhang reported through the neural link. "It extends for light years in every direction. They've created a quantum barrier around their entire territory." Chen considered their options. Going through the storm would be incredibly dangerous. The quantum distortions could tear their ship apart or worse. But going back wasn't an option, and they didn't have time to find another way. "Dr. Patel, can you modify our uncertainty field to match the frequency of the storm?" The scientist's eyes widened. "You want to synchronize with it?" That's actually brilliant. If we can match its quantum signature perfectly, we might be able to pass through undetected. But the calculations would have to be perfect. Even a slight miscalibration could atomize us," Cooper suggested cheerfully. "Perfect. When do we start?" As they worked to recalibrate their systems, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that something about this was wrong. The quantum storm was too perfect, too precisely calculated, like it had been designed specifically to challenge their capabilities. "Rivera," she called out, "run another analysis on their communications. Look for any patterns that might suggest." She never finished the sentence. At that moment, a massive energy surge erupted from the quantum storm, heading straight for their position. But instead of the destructive blast they expected, it coalesced into a form they'd never seen before, a bridge of stable space-time cutting through the chaos. And at the far end of that bridge, a signal began broadcasting on all frequencies, a signal using an encryption method that only 5 people in the universe should have known about. The message was simple: "Welcome home, children of Earth. We've been waiting a very long time for this moment." A heart of darkness. For several long moments, silence filled the Shadow Dancer's bridge. The quantum bridge hung before them like a ribbon of starlight cutting through the storm, beautiful and impossible. "It's a trap," Cooper said finally. "Obviously," Chen agreed. "The question is, why go to all this trouble? They could have destroyed us the moment we entered their space." Through the neural interface, she could feel Zhang's unease. "Commander, these energy readings, they're exactly like our quantum drive signatures, just orders of magnitude more powerful. It's as if someone took our technology and spent centuries perfecting it." "Or longer," Dr. Patel interjected, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "Commander, I think I understand what we're looking at. The quantum physics involved, the way they've managed to stabilize these fields." She took a deep breath. "We're not dealing with time travelers. We're dealing with ourselves." "Explain," Chen ordered, though she was beginning to see where this was going. "The multiverse theory," Patel continued. "Infinite universes, infinite possibilities. We've always theorized that quantum technology might allow travel between realities, but we never managed to make it work. But what if, in another reality, we did? What if we're dealing with a version of humanity that took a very different path? The message repeated, "Welcome home, children of Earth. We've been waiting a very long time for this moment." Chen made her decision. Take us in. Whatever's waiting for us through that bridge. We need answers. The shadow dancer glided forward, its quantum uncertainty field harmonizing with the bridge's energy signature. As they passed through, the sensors went wild, recording data that would keep Earth scientists busy for decades. They emerged into what appeared to be a massive artificial structure, a sphere of impossible size, its inner surface covered in city lights and shipyards that stretched beyond the horizon. A Dyson swarm, Rivera breathed. They've built a Dyson swarm around a quantum singularity. Before they could process the implications of that, their communication system activated independently. A hologram materialized on the bridge, a woman wearing a uniform similar to their own, but more advanced. Her features were hauntingly familiar. "Welcome," she said, smiling. "I'm Admiral Sarah Chen of the Quantum Defense Force. Or rather, I'm who you might have become in another reality." Chen felt her neural interface buzz with warning signals. The other Chen's quantum signature was fluctuating in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "Where is the High Chancellor?" Chen demanded. "Safe," her counterpart assured her. "And necessary. We needed to bring you here, to show you what's coming. In our reality, we weren't ready. We didn't see the threat until it was too late." "What threat?" The hologram waved a hand, and the bridge filled with new images, worlds burning, entire galaxies going dark, and something vast and ancient moving between the stars. "We call them the Devourers," Admiral Chen explained. "They exist outside normal spacetime, feeding on entire universes. In our reality, they consumed everything. A few of us escaped through quantum tunnels between realities, but we couldn't save our universe. We've spent millennia preparing this reality for what's coming." "The Void Collective," Chen realized. "You've been manipulating events, pushing our development in specific directions. We needed you to advance quickly enough to help us fight, but not so quickly that you'd draw their attention too soon. The High Chancellor's peace treaty was slowing crucial military development across the galaxy. We had to act." Chen felt anger rising. "So you kidnapped him, threatened to destabilize the entire galaxy. There had to be a better way." "We tried other ways, in other realities," the Admiral said sadly. "They didn't work. But you, your crew, your ship, you proved something important. You showed that this reality's humanity still has what we lost. The willingness to fight impossible odds, to risk everything for what's right." New holograms appeared, showing massive fleets gathering in the space around the Dyson swarm. Ships of clearly human design, but centuries more advanced. "We need your help," Admiral Chen said. "Not just to save the High Chancellor, but to save every reality from what's coming. The Devourers have already entered this universe's space. We have perhaps 5 years before they reach populated space." Chen looked at her crew. Through the neural interface, she could feel their mix of emotions: fear, excitement, determination. They had come to save one life and found themselves faced with the challenge of saving all of existence. "If what you're saying is true," Chen said carefully, "why not simply tell us? Why this elaborate deception?" The Admiral's hologram flickered. "Because the Devourers have agents everywhere, watching for signs that a universe has become aware of them. We needed to test you, to see if you could handle impossible situations without revealing the true stakes." She paused. "And we needed to be sure you were still human enough." "Human enough for what?" "To do something monumentally foolish," the Admiral smiled. "To fight beings that consume universes, to stand against entropy itself, to be the heroes that every reality needs." Her expression turned serious. "The High Chancellor is in the command center. Once you retrieve him, I'll explain the full situation, and then you'll have a choice to make." As the hologram faded, Chen turned to her crew. "Thoughts?" "Could be another trap," Cooper offered. "Definitely another trap," Rivera agreed. "But if they're telling the truth, we're looking at the end of everything unless we help," Chen finished. "Dr. Patel, what's your analysis?" The scientist was still studying the readings from the Dyson swarm. "The quantum physics checks out. What they've built here, it's centuries beyond us, but it follows the same principles we're developing. And these energy signatures," she looked up, her face pale. "There's something massive moving out there, Commander. Something that doesn't obey any physics we understand." Chen nodded. "Well then, I guess we're about to do something monumentally foolish." She activated the ship's internal comms. "All hands, battle stations. We came here to save one life. Looks like we might have to save them all." As they moved deeper into the massive structure, Chen couldn't help but wonder. When humanity dreamed of reaching the stars, was this what they had imagined? Not just exploration and discovery, but standing as the last line of defense against the end of all things. Then again, that was humanity in a nutshell. Doing the impossible because nobody told them they couldn't, or because somebody told them they shouldn't. The Shadow Dancer's sensors detected movement ahead, ships moving to intercept them. But these weren't the hostile forces they'd expected. These were honor guards, their designs a beautiful fusion of human innovation and quantum engineering. They were being welcomed not as enemies or prisoners, but as humanity's last, best hope. Time to prove they deserved that welcome. Honor's price. The command center of the quantum sphere made the Shadow Dancer's bridge look like ancient technology. Holographic displays filled the air, showing real-time data from thousands of quantum sensors spread across multiple realities. But Chen's attention was fixed on the figure standing at the center of it all. High Chancellor Exaltharian looked exactly as he had in the embassy footage, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that conveyed both emotion and meaning. He showed no signs of injury or distress. "Commander Chen," he said, his voice resonating at multiple frequencies, "I must admit, I did not expect a rescue attempt from Earth's forces, particularly not one conducted with such innovative methods." "Innovation is something of a human specialty, Chancellor," Chen replied carefully. She could feel the tension in her crew through the neural interface. Despite the apparently peaceful situation, no one had lowered their guards. "Though I'm beginning to understand that this rescue mission wasn't quite what it appeared to be." "Indeed not." The Chancellor's crystalline form shifted, creating patterns that Chen's xenolinguistics training identified as indicating deep concern. "Your alternate reality counterparts have shown me what approaches. I must admit, I did not believe them at first. The scope of the threat seemed impossible." "We're quite good with impossible," Cooper quipped, though his hand remained near his quantum pistol. Admiral Chen's hologram materialized again. "Show them," she ordered, and the command center's displays changed. The images were beyond horrifying. Entire galaxies vanishing into what looked like tears in the fabric of reality. Civilizations millions of years more advanced than humanity being consumed in moments. And through it all, vast shapes that hurt the mind to look at, moving with terrible purpose. "The Devourers exist in dimensions beyond our comprehension," Admiral Chen explained. "They feed on entropy itself, accelerating the heat death of any universe they enter. In our reality, by the time we understood what we were facing, it was too late. But here," she gestured to the High Chancellor, "here we have a chance. If we can unite the galaxy's forces now, prepare them for what's coming." "Which is why you needed me," Xaltharian finished. "The peace of 1,000 stars was necessary in its time, but it has made us complacent, comfortable. We need humanity's drive, their willingness to face the impossible." Chen felt a chill. "You're talking about militarizing the entire galaxy. The peace treaty will doom us all if maintained," Admiral Chen cut in. "We've run the simulations millions of times, across thousands of realities. Peace is a luxury we can no longer afford. We need weapons, ships, armies. We need humanity's martial spirit to spread through the galaxy like a fever. There has to be another way, Rivera protested. We fought so hard for that peace. And now we must fight harder for survival. The Admiral's hologram flickered. The choice is yours, Commander. We won't force this knowledge on you. You can take the High Chancellor back, maintain the peace, and enjoy the few years remaining before the Devourers arrive. Or we can help you turn the galaxy into an armed camp. Chen finished. Tear down everything we've built in the name of defending against a threat most people won't even believe in. Now you understand why we tested you as we did, Admiral Chen said softly. This isn't a choice anyone should have to make, but you've proven you have the strength to make it. Through the neural interface, Chen could feel her crew's turmoil. They had come to prevent a war, only to find themselves faced with starting one, albeit for the noblest of reasons. If we do this, Chen said slowly, we do it our way. No more deceptions, no more manipulations. We show the galaxy the threat. Let them choose to fight. That will take time we don't have, the Admiral argued. Maybe. But if we're going to ask every species in the galaxy to become warriors again, we owe them the truth. That's the human way. We fight hardest when we know what we're fighting for. The High Chancellor's crystalline form shifted again, this time in patterns suggesting deep thought. Perhaps there is wisdom in this approach. My people were warriors once, before we evolved into our current form. Many species have similar histories. If they understand the true threat, they'll choose to fight, Chen finished. Not because they're forced to, but because it's right. Because sometimes being foolishly brave is the wisest choice of all. Admiral Chen was silent for a long moment. You really are different from us, she said finally. We lost that faith in people. That belief that given the truth, they'll make the right choice. She smiled sadly. Maybe that's why your reality has a chance we never did. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command center. New holographic displays sprang to life, showing massive distortions in the quantum field surrounding the sphere. They're here, Admiral Chen whispered. We thought we had more time, but they must have detected our communications with your ship. A Devourer scout has entered this reality. The displays showed something vast and dark moving through space, its very presence causing stars to flicker and die. It was heading straight for the quantum sphere. How long? Chen demanded. Minutes. Maybe less. We can evacuate through the quantum tunnels. But the sphere itself? No, Chen cut her off. No more running. She turned to her crew. Remember what we said about humanity's specialty being impossible missions. Time to prove it. Through the neural interface, she could feel their immediate understanding, their readiness despite their fear. Dr. Patel, that quantum uncertainty field of yours, could it be modified to affect something that big? The scientist's eyes widened. Theoretically, if we had enough power. You have an entire Dyson swarm at your disposal, Admiral Chen offered, beginning to understand their plan. Cooper, Zhang, get back to the Shadow Dancer. Begin power transfer protocols. Rivera, work with the Admiral's people. I want every scrap of data they have on these things quantum signatures. Chancellor. Chen turned to Saltharian. I hope you're ready to see humanity's foolishness in action. The crystalline being's patterns shifted to show what might have been amusement. I begin to understand why the Devourers fear your kind, Commander. Very well. Let us see what humanity's madness can achieve. As her crew raced to their positions, Chen allowed herself a grim smile. They had come to prevent a war and found themselves starting one instead, but not the one anyone had expected. Sometimes the most human thing you could do was look at an impossible situation and say, watch this. Humanity's promise. Time seemed to move differently in the quantum sphere's command center as they raced to implement Chen's plan. Through her neural interface, she could feel the massive power of the Dyson swarm being channeled through new pathways, guided by Dr. Patel's frantically typed equations and Rivera's quantum signature analysis. The Devourer Scout was now visible on the main display, a writhing mass of impossible geometries that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human minds could process. Where it passed, reality itself grew thin and frayed. Power transfer at 60%, Cooper reported through the neural interface. But Commander, these readings suggest it's affecting our uncertainty field. The more power we draw, the more unstable our systems become. Keep going, Chen ordered. Dr. Patel. The scientist didn't look up from her calculations. The theory is sound. If we can generate a quantum uncertainty field large enough, we can essentially make this entire region of space probabilistically unstable. The Devourer exists by consuming certainty, entropy itself. If we remove that certainty, we poison the food, Admiral Chen finished, her hologram flickering with understanding. But the power requirements will burn out every system we have, Chen acknowledged, including our neural interfaces, maybe including us. Through the link, she felt Cooper's grim amusement. So, suicide mission after all. Would we have it any other way? The High Chancellor's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Commander, you cannot seriously intend to sacrifice yourselves. My people have extensive research on quantum physics. Perhaps if we had time to study. Time is the one thing we don't have. Chen cut him off. Chancellor, if we survive this, remember what you've seen here. Remember that when humanity seems reckless or foolish, it's because we understand something fundamental about the universe. Sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to lose everything. 70%, Jean reported. Warning signals were blaring through the neural interface now. The quantum uncertainty field was growing unstable, threatening to tear apart the very atoms of their ships. Admiral, Chen turned to her counterpart's hologram. If this works, if we stop this scout, you need to warn the galaxy. No more manipulation, no more secrets. Show them what's coming. Show them this moment. The Admiral nodded slowly. Perhaps we were wrong. We thought the galaxy needed to be forced into action. But maybe what it needs is inspiration, to see what determination and courage can achieve. 80%. Commander, the field is becoming critical. Chen could feel it through the neural interface, reality itself seeming to wobble and twist around them. The Devourer was almost upon them now, its impossible form filling the displays. Dr. Patel, status. Field strength approaching theoretical maximum. But Commander, she looked up, her eyes wide. The calculations suggest we need to be closer. Much closer. How much closer? Point-blank range. Chen nodded. Cooper, Zhang, get the shadow dancer ready. Maximum power to the uncertainty field. She turned to Rivera. Send everything we have. All our data, all our readings, to both Earth and the Admiral's forces. The galaxy needs to know what happened here. Commander, the High Chancellor stepped forward. My people have long considered humans to be primitive, emotionally driven, unable to see the larger picture. His crystalline form shifted into patterns of deep respect. We were wrong. What you do here, this is not foolishness. This is wisdom of the highest order. Thank you, Chancellor. Now get to safety. Admiral, make sure he does. The galaxy will need his voice in the days to come. As the others evacuated, Chen and her crew boarded the Shadow Dancer. Through the neural interface, they could feel the ship straining under the power being channeled through it. The quantum uncertainty field was visible now, a shimmering distortion in space that grew larger with each passing second. 90%, Cooper announced. His voice was strained. The neural interface was beginning to overflow their nervous systems with data, course plotted directly for the entity's center mass. If you can call it mass. All hands, Chen broadcast to her crew. It has been an honor. Rivera, send the message. Throughout the galaxy, on every quantum communication channel, Rivera's voice rang out. To all species of the galaxy. We are humanity. We face an enemy that devours universes. Watch now and remember, Sometimes the greatest wisdom looks like foolishness to those who have forgotten how to dream. The Shadow Dancer's engines ignited, pushing against the fabric of reality itself as they drove toward the devourer. The quantum uncertainty field reached critical mass, turning the space around their ship into a maelstrom of probability. 100%. Dr. Patel's voice was triumphant despite the pain. Field stability critical. Reality coherence failing. The devourer seemed to sense their approach, its impossible form twisted toward them, dimensions folding in ways that made human minds scream in protest. But through their neural interfaces, the crew of the Shadow Dancer held on. They were humanity, the species that looked at the impossible and called it a challenge. The species that would risk everything to save not just their universe, but all universes. The species that would dive headlong into oblivion with smiles on their faces, if that's what it took to protect others. As the Shadow Dancer struck the devourer's form, the quantum uncertainty field reached infinite probability. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. And then, probability collapsed. The devourer, a being that fed on certainty, found itself in a space where certainty had ceased to exist. For a moment that stretched into eternity, the impossible met the improbable. The resulting quantum cascade turned the space around them into pure possibility. The devourer scout, caught in a region where even entropy had become uncertain, began to fold in upon itself. Through failing neural interfaces, the crew of the Shadow Dancer sent one final message. Remember this moment. Remember that the impossible is only impossible until someone foolish enough tries it. We are humanity, and we will never stop trying. The quantum sphere's sensors recorded it all. The devourer scout's destruction, the collapse of probabilistic space, and the final fate of the Shadow Dancer and her crew. When it was over, when reality had stabilized and the quantum readings had returned to normal, Admiral Chen's hologram stood in the command center beside the High Chancellor. They watched the recordings in silence. They succeeded, the Chancellor said finally, but at such a cost. No, the Admiral corrected him. Not succeeded. They showed us the way. Showed us all the way. She turned to face him. You'll tell the galaxy what happened here. Every word, he promised. Every species will know of humanity's sacrifice, of their wisdom. In the days that followed, the recording spread across the galaxy. Species that had looked down on humanity's emotional nature watched in awe, as a handful of foolish humans had faced down a cosmic horror with determination and courage. The peace of 1,000 stars transformed into something new, not an end to conflict, but a pact of mutual defense against the horrors that lurked between universes. The galaxy began to prepare, not through fear or manipulation, but through inspiration. And in quantum observatories across multiple realities, sensors detected something new. The devourers were changing course, moving away from populated space. Perhaps they had finally found something that truly frightened them, a species foolish enough to face them, wise enough to find their weakness, and brave enough to inspire others to do the same. Humanity had kept its promise to the galaxy, not through overwhelming force or advanced technology, but through their unique combination of determination, innovation, and the willingness to be foolishly brave in the face of impossible odds. It was, after all, the most human thing they could do.